about delivering excellence across business sectors. Today is about building a future-ready nation. Our today has a strong foundation with community at its core. Our today is dedicated to the communities we serve. Today is always about more than just today. Our today is a continuous journey for a better tomorrow. Tata, leadership with trust.
सर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। साहब, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। हुजूर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता।
अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान।
अपनों को खुशियां दिलाना आसान नहीं बनाते तो आगे कैसे बढ़ते। इसीलिए हम जो भी करते हैं उसे बेहतर बनाते आ रहे हैं, बनाते रहेंगे। बजाज फिनसर्व, थिंक इट डन।
आने वाले कल की दस्तक हमें सुनाई देती है, नई मंजिल है जिस ओर हमें वो दिशा दिखाई देती है। नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए जोश से निकल पड़े हम, आने वाला कल होगा हमारा। नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
और नए इंडिया के इस सफर में टेक्नोलॉजी की शक्ति लेकर आपका भागीदार रहेगा रिलायंस। रिलायंस, नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
Welcome to the world of Tata Steel, a flagship company of the global business conglomerate, the Tata Group. Tata Steel is one of the world's most geographically diversified steel producers, with operations and commercial presence across the world. The story began with the dream of one man, Jamsetji Nusserwanji Tata, a pioneer, a visionary, a man ahead of his times. He had his heart set on building a steel plant in India that would compare with the best globally. His dream was brought to fruition by his son, Dorabji Tata, and thus was born Tata Iron and Steel in Jamshedpur in 1907. At the turn of the 21st century, fueled by its global aspirations, Tata Steel expanded its footprint to Southeast Asia in Singapore and Thailand. Acquisition of Chorus in Europe in 2007 placed it amongst the top global steel companies in the world. In 2015, Tata Steel set up a state-of-the-art integrated steel plant at Kalinganagar, Odisha in India. The Phase 2 expansion of Kalinganagar steel plant from 3 million TPA to 8 million TPA is currently underway. The company is all set to pursue domestic growth with its acquisition of Bhushan Steel Limited and the steel business of Usha Martin. This forms part of the overall strategy to increase its India footprint, build capacity in long products, and enrich the product portfolio. Besides steel manufacturing facilities, the company has mining assets in the state of Jharkhand and Odisha in India. Tata Steel has evolved into a leading steel manufacturer, catering to diverse market segments. In its trend-setting journey, spanning more than a century, Tata Steel has contributed immensely towards the well-being of the planet and people. Guided by its vision to be the global steel industry benchmark for value creation and corporate citizenship, Tata Steel is poised to lead the future.
सुरक्षा हर पिच पर, ताकत लंबी पारी खेलने की, परफेक्ट फिट, क्वालिटी टेस्ट। मैच से पहले ये सारे चेक्स बहुत जरूरी होते हैं, ठीक वैसे जैसे घर की छत चूज करते समय। तो बस ले आइए GSW कलर ऑन प्लस की छत, जो दे आपके घर को मजबूती और सुरक्षा। GSW कलर ऑन प्लस, सुंदर छत सालों साल।
GSW न्यू स्टील TMT सरिया बेस्ट है।
सरिया दिखता कहाँ है?
ये देखिए बेस्ट क्वालिटी।
चेस्ट गार्ड है, दिखता कहाँ है?
दिखता नहीं तो कुछ भी लगाओगे क्या? ये देना। JSW न्यू स्टील TMT बार, प्योर स्टील, मजबूत घर।
ये दीवारें जानती हैं हर शुरुआत का पता। एक नई सोच के साथ अपने सपने की सुबह।
जब उम्मीद मिलाए हिम्मत से हाथ, हर सपने को मिले मजबूती का साथ।
आओ बनाए हर सपने को मजबूत JSW सीमेंट के साथ। JSW सीमेंट, द लीडर्स चॉइस।
कभी हिंदुस्तान के रंगों के बारे में सोचा है? लाल, पीला, हरा, नीला।
तो चलो मिलकर इस रंगीन चादर को फिर से सिलते हैं। जो तेरा वो मेरा और जो मेरा वो सबका। इसीलिए पहली बार JSW पेंट्स लाए हैं 1808 शेड्स एक ही प्राइस पर। JSW पेंट्स, थिंक ब्यूटीफुल।
In 1868, the Tata Group was founded on a philosophy that put the community at the heart of its existence. Today, we are $100 billion global enterprise. Our today has been built on enduring values. Our today is about delivering excellence across business sectors. Our today is about building a future-ready nation. Our today has a strong foundation with community at its core. Our today is dedicated to the communities we serve. Our today is always about more than just today. Our today is a continuous journey for a better tomorrow. Tata, leadership with trust.
सर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। साहब, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। हुजूर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता।
अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान।
अपनों को खुशियां दिलाना आसान नहीं बनाते तो आगे कैसे बढ़ते। इसीलिए हम जो भी करते हैं उसे बेहतर बनाते आ रहे हैं, बनाते रहेंगे। बजाज फिनसर्व, थिंक इट डन।
आने वाले कल की दस्तक हमें सुनाई देती है। नई उस ओर हमें वो दिशा दिखाई देती है। नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए जोश से निकल पड़े हम, आने वाला कल होगा हमारा। नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
और नए इंडिया के इस सफर में टेक्नोलॉजी की शक्ति लेकर आपका भागीदार रहेगा रिलायंस। रिलायंस, नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
Welcome to the world of Tata Steel, a flagship company of the global business conglomerate, the Tata Group. Tata Steel is one of the world's most geographically diversified steel producers, with operations and commercial presence across the world. The story began with the dream of one man, Jamsetji Nusserwanji Tata, a pioneer, a visionary, a man ahead of his times. He had his heart set on building a steel plant in India that would compare with the best globally. His dream was brought to fruition by his son, Dorabji Tata, and thus was born Tata Iron and Steel in Jamshedpur in 1907. At the turn of the 21st century, fueled by its global aspirations, Tata Steel expanded its footprint to Southeast Asia in Singapore and Thailand. Acquisition of Chorus in Europe in 2007 placed it amongst the top global steel companies in the world. In 2015, Tata Steel set up a state-of-the-art integrated steel plant at Kalinganagar, Odisha in India. The Phase 2 expansion of Kalinganagar steel plant from 3 million TPA to 8 million TPA is currently underway. The company is all set to pursue domestic growth with its acquisition of Bhushan Steel Limited and the steel business of Usha Martin. This forms part of the overall strategy to increase its India footprint, build capacity in long products, and enrich the product portfolio. Besides steel manufacturing facilities, the company has mining assets in the state of Jharkhand and Odisha in India. Tata Steel has evolved into a leading steel manufacturer, catering to diverse market segments. In its trend-setting journey, spanning more than a century, Tata Steel has contributed immensely towards the well-being of the planet and people. Guided by its vision to be the global steel industry benchmark for value creation and corporate citizenship, Tata Steel is poised to lead the future.
सुरक्षा हर पिच पर, ताकत लंबी पारी खेलने की, परफेक्ट फिट, क्वालिटी टेस्ट, मैच से पहले ये सारे चेक्स बहुत जरूरी होते हैं, ठीक वैसे जैसे घर की छत चूज करते समय। तो बस ले आइए GSW कलर ऑन प्लस किचन, जो दे आपके घर को मजबूती और सुरक्षा। GSW कलर ऑन प्लस, सुंदर छत सालों साल।
JSW नियो स्टील TMT सरिया बेस्ट है।
सरिया दिखता कहाँ है?
ये देखिए बेस्ट क्वालिटी।
चेस्ट गार्ड है, दिखता कहाँ है?
दिखता नहीं तो कुछ भी लगाओगे क्या? ये देना। JSW नियो स्टील TMT बार, प्योर स्टील, मजबूत घर।
ये दीवारें जानती हैं हर शुरुआत का पता। एक नई सोच के साथ अपने सपने की सुबह।
जब उम्मीद मिलाए हिम्मत से हाथ, हर सपने को मिले मजबूती का साथ।
आओ बनाए हर सपने को मजबूत JSW सीमेंट के साथ। JSW सीमेंट, द लीडर्स चॉइस। कभी हिंदुस्तान के रंगों के बारे में सोचा है? लाल, पीला, हरा, नीला। तो चलो मिलकर इस रंगीन चादर को फिर से सिलते हैं। जो तेरा वो मेरा और जो मेरा वो सबका। इसीलिए पहली बार JSW पेंट्स लाए हैं 1808 शेड्स एक ही प्राइस पर। JSW पेंट्स, थिंक ब्यूटीफुल।
In 1868, the Tata Group was founded on a philosophy that put the community at the heart of its existence. Today, we are a $100 billion global enterprise. Our today has been built on enduring values. Our today is about delivering excellence across business sectors. Our today is about building a future-ready nation. Our today has a strong foundation with community at its core. today is dedicated to the communities we serve. Our today is always about more than just today. Our today is a continuous journey for a better tomorrow. Tata, leadership with trust.
सर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। साहब, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। हुजूर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता।
अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान।
अपनों को खुशियां दिलाना आसान नहीं बनाते तो आगे कैसे बढ़ते। इसीलिए हम जो भी करते हैं उसे बेहतर बनाते आ रहे हैं, बनाते रहेंगे। बजाज फिनसर्व, थिंक इट डन।
आने वाले कल की दस्तक हमें सुनाई देती है, नई मंजिल है जिस ओर हमें वो दिशा दिखाई देती है। नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए जोश से निकल पड़े हम, आने वाला कल होगा हमारा। नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
और नए इंडिया के इस सफर में टेक्नोलॉजी की शक्ति लेकर आपका भागीदार रहेगा रिलायंस। रिलायंस, नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
Welcome to the world of Tata Steel, a flagship company of the global business conglomerate, the Tata Group. Tata Steel is one of the world's most geographically diversified steel producers, with operations and commercial presence across the world. The story began with the dream of one man, Jamsetji Nusserwanji Tata, a pioneer, a visionary, a man ahead of his times. He had his heart set on building
Welcome you to all the panelists. We will start the session in next 2 minutes. Hi Abhilash, good evening. Hope all well. Can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear. Good evening, Raki.
Good evening.
Good evening, Abhilash.
Good evening, Rajiv ji. How are you? And Mr. Chatterjee.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Rudra.
Good evening.
Good evening, all. This is Amit here.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening, Excellency. Ambassador. Welcome you all to the India-Rwanda country session at the CII Partnership Summit. We will start in another minute. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome you to the country session India-Rwanda at the CII Partnership Summit. May I request Mr. Rajiv Vahi to kindly give his welcome remarks. Thank you.
Good evening. A very warm welcome to all the eminent panelists, participants, and to this digital session, Rwanda Exploring Opportunities and Forging Business Linkages, coinciding with the CII Partnership Summit 2020. We have among us today a very distinguished panel, including Her Excellency, Ms. Jacqueline Mukungira, High Commissioner, Embassy of Rwanda, New Delhi. His Excellency, Mr. Oscar Kaketa, High Commissioner, Embassy of India, Kigali, Rwanda. Mr. Zephany Nyonkuru, Deputy CEO, Rwanda Development Board. Mr. Jonas, Act Chief Technical Advisor, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Republic of Rwanda. Mr. Stephen Ruzibiza, CEO, Private Sector Federation, Republic of Rwanda. Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, Managing Director, Lakshmi Tea Company. Mr. Amit Chawla, Managing Director, Airtel Rwanda. And Mr. Abhilash Puljal, Trade Policy Advisor and Private Sector Development Expert. Friends, this special edition of the Partnership Summit, which is being held since 1995, coincides with CII's 125th anniversary. In these 125 years of existence, CII has had a momentous journey and has led the Indian industry from a nascent stage to its multifaceted and multidimensional form which we witness today. Senior officials from PSF have been participating at the 10th-day CII Industrial Services Training Program held every year in India on the sidelines of the CII Africa Conclave. CII has also mounted several business delegations to Rwanda in 2014 and 2018, coinciding with the visit of Prime Minister Mr. Modi to Rwanda, wherein the delegation participated in the business forum as well. In November 2014, CII hosted an exclusive interaction with President Kagame with select senior industrialists during his visit to New Delhi. President Kagame also addressed at the India Economic Summit during his visit, which was co-organized by CII and World Economic Forum. CII and Rwanda Private Sector Federation have been MOU partners, leading important delegations, sessions connecting potential business partners on both sides, and more. We look forward to increasing partnerships and expanding Indian investments in Rwanda, which we believe will be beneficial for both the countries. We look forward to the insights from the distinguished panel and experiences some of our Indian friends who have been doing business with Rwanda. I now request Mr. Abhilash Puljal to kindly moderate the session and take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vahi. Good evening to all and good afternoon to those of you in Kigali. All protocols observed. This session is being held at a very opportune time. Both Invest India and Rwanda Development Board have won the UNCTAD Investment Promotion Award. This emphasizes the commitment of the two economies to create a vibrant landscape for investors and mutual synergies to develop both the economies. Excellencies and friends, let me take you through very briefly the business climate in India, where India achieved 63rd rank amongst 190 countries in World Bank's ease of doing business rankings, and was among the top 10 economies that improved the most as a result of implementing regulatory reforms for the third consecutive time. Although the pandemic has affected most economies worldwide, including India, the Indian economy, however, is on its way to recovery, like many other countries that we know of who've been working very hard, mostly led by a rebound in manufacturing activity among other economic activities. And we are hoping to see robust recovery. There is an immense opportunity for trade to flourish between India and Rwanda. Although the volume of bilateral trade right now is small, with India's exports to Rwanda, as we see years 18-19, being at about 155 million US dollars, while India's imports from Rwanda stood at a bit over 6.5 million US dollars. Where India's exports to Rwanda include electrical and machinery, mechanical machinery, pharmaceuticals, and vehicles. And the major imports from Rwanda are metallic articles, lead, aluminum, and copper, precious and semi-precious stones, tea, and coffee. A major advantage of Rwanda lies in its strategic location as the gateway between East and Central Africa. Not just East and Central Africa, as I like to say, it's the heart of Africa and a land of 1,000 opportunities. It's the best way that we can make the use of that opportunity. Furthermore, as those of us Indians travel to Rwanda and that have seen many of our compatriots who've made Rwanda their home, according to the High Commission of India, there are about 3,000 Indian nationals and PIOs in Rwanda. And if you see, the only sugar refinery, its only modern textile mill, as well as a soap and cosmetic factory are PIO owned. Investments from India are in the tea sector by Lakshmi Tea, a Kolkata-based company, and Airtel Rwanda, a major player in the telecom sector, both who are representing us here today to speak about their experiences. Another good friend of ours, Sahasra Lighting, is also a key player in the supply of LED lighting and solar panels. And those of them who've traveled on motor taxis across the cities in Rwanda, you know TVS bikes are not behind. Without further ado, may I now invite our first speaker, Mr. Amit Chawla. Mr. Chawla is currently the Managing Director of Airtel Rwanda and a senior telecom professional with substantial experience in channel management, institutional sales, marketing, enterprise sales, customer operations, and business management. He has overseen and successfully navigated the merger of Airtel and Tigo in Rwanda, with Airtel acquiring a unified license. He is a turnaround specialist with a record of accomplishment of driving top-line growth, increasing profitability, and building teams across different geographies. May I now invite Mr. Amit Chawla to give his address.
Thanks, Abhilash, for the kind introduction. A very good afternoon and good evening, respectively, to His Excellency High Commissioner of India to Rwanda, Her Excellency High Commissioner Embassy of Rwanda to India, Deputy CEO Rwanda Development Board, CEO for the Private Sector Federation here in Rwanda, Managing Director for Lakshmi Tea Company Private Limited, and members from CII. It's been it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this panel. Well, telecommunications in Rwanda has been a big game changer in simplifying the way of doing business and relating, as has been the case for majority sub-Saharan African countries. In Rwanda, the existence of a policy and regulatory framework and a clarity of what contributions are expected from telecommunication companies has ensured that mobile telephone technologies are affordable and accessible to all segments of the population. I remember being a part of the Transform Africa Summit, which was held in 2016. And no less than His Excellency President Paul Kagame had said a statement which still resonates in my mind, which was the internet is a needed public utility as much as water and electricity. So that is the kind of importance that telecommunication has in this country. Tracking forward to about 3 years back, the regulator and the Ministry of ICT approved the merger of two telecom operators, erstwhile Tigo, which was Millicom, and Airtel, a move that left many wondering why the regulator and government of Rwanda was reducing operators instead of attracting more. This move by the regulator and Minister of ICT changed dynamics in the industry, with the merged companies becoming one large entity, presenting better competition to the oldest operator. The ICT sector in Rwanda is increasingly occupying an important position in the country's endeavor to achieve the targets associated with the National Strategy of Transformation and the Vision 2050 goals. One of the key milestones of this journey has been the growth of telecommunication sector, supported by increasing mobile phone penetration. Now, I remember in 2005, the mobile telephone penetration was about 7%, and now we are crossing 80% levels. And I genuinely feel ICT sector in Rwanda continues to be a catalyst for rapid and sustainable economic growth, equitable social development, and employment creation. Rwanda has made some impressive progress in establishing a telecoms infrastructure and provision of telecom, which resulted in a sizable revenue generation since the businesses are well established now. Rwanda continues to be one of the fastest growing African countries in ICT, and there are several avenues for growth for the ICT sector, from e-commerce and services, mobile technologies, applications development, and automation. I have personally experienced the right thought process, elevated aspirations coupled with favorable regulatory environment, which is unheard of. I mean, the kind of engagements we have with the regulator and the Ministry of ICT are so very transparent and progressive. And this ensures a stable economic forecast, and hence we are on our way to become an ICT hub for the region. The government also clearly recognizes that a robust ICT industry can create wealth, jobs, and entrepreneurs. I think, if I had to talk about the major reasons or the potent reasons why anybody should consider Rwanda for increased success, and what has really helped us as an operator, as a private organization from India, are a few points which I would like to deliberate on. First of all, doing business is extremely easy. Rwanda is among the top 3 nations in Africa for ease of doing business, following Mauritius and South Africa. However, it will probably take the trophy for registering any business. That holds true for any partners, vendors, and even suppliers, because we are a large telecom organization, so we have various partners, vendors, and even suppliers. Now, I have worked in various geographies, and I can tell you that it takes practically drop of a hat to get yourself registered in the right manner. The issues of certifications for construction or manufacturing also takes just 2 to 3 working days, and you're ready to go. I would like to compliment my colleague here from Rwanda Development Board. There is no minimum amount required to invest in this country. And Rwanda Development Board is a one-stop entity committed to support both business owners and investors. The second point I would like to highlight is effective public enterprises and civil servants. I think Rwanda's public sector is amazingly well organized and efficient. And that is crucial in cutting time and energy when getting your business off the ground or growing it. A clear agenda coupled with a very young, effective, and ambitious workforce in leadership positions, largely in their 30s. I truly admit this is rare, but it's an increasing sight in even Africa. You meet a director general of a line ministry, the head of an investment promotion, or a Rwandan business delegation traveling abroad. They are so very swift and professional in their approach. I think this also takes the cake. The third one is extremely ambitious vision to boost development. The pace is actually felt across industry sectors. I and my team experience it on a day in and day out basis, wherein both public and private stakeholders in Rwanda are under pressure to deliver. You will feel the quest for progress and efficiency everywhere you go. Rwanda has also developed a fully serviced economic trade zone for foreign investors. This is also icing on the cake. The fourth is, I think, huge local demand exists in key sectors. The company has a very dynamic consumer base, very youthful, and there are efforts to develop Rwanda into a medium income country, which means that Rwandan consumers would have increased spending power. The country right now may be relatively small, but the demand in certain sectors far outweighs local supply, and that has prompted government to seek investors like us to fill the gap. And I feel we are privileged as a telecom operator to be serving in Rwanda. Great opportunities and huge demand currently exist in our sector. The fifth is great connectivity. Rwanda has one of Africa's fastest internet connections, which allows you to remain effective in your communication. In fact, the Rwandan government has decided to make internet available throughout the country, and you'll find numerous free wireless hotspots in public spaces as part of this plan. And we are also trying to consistently make that a possibility, which is a privilege for us at Airtel. And the last one is, we hear about economic slowdown all across, but Rwanda is growing fast. Recently we heard a lot about the economic slowdown, even prior to COVID times, that is affecting growth in Africa. Some African economics are indeed feeling the heat. But Rwanda, in the meantime, has been identified by the World Bank as one of the fastest growing economies alongside Ethiopia, Ivory Coast, and the DRC, I believe. While the world worries about an economic slowdown, Rwanda continues to march forward and is growing at about 9 to 10% on a yearly basis. So in brief, I would like to say that it's been a journey of its kind for us as an investor. We are, our experience has been extremely good, extremely accommodating as a country. We feel the regulation is very progressive. The country's vision is very clear. I feel, if I had to sum it up, I think there's a strong political will to utilize ICT, which is our sector, as a pillar of development. Strong and consistent national ICT policies. ICT sector budget is also on par with OECD countries at 1.6%, which is far above the African average. Premier national ICT network infrastructure, we are constantly building the backbone and the infrastructure. Strong ICT related institutions like RISA, RURA, MITEC, strong commitment from ICT sector and community. A very huge focus on e-governance and e-government, and harmonizing ICT legislations across the region. I think I feel that we are privileged as Airtel to be a part of this country, and we intend to invest more in an effort to grow our company and be of service to the citizens of Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chawla, for your passionate words. And also, thank you for being a part of this, making this needed public affordable and accessible in Rwanda. Now may I invite our second speaker, Mr. Rudra Chatterjee. Mr. Chatterjee is Managing Director of Lakshmi Company and Chairman of OBT. Lakshmi is one of the world's largest tea producers, making 30 million kgs of tea from 25 estates in Darjeeling in India and in Rwanda. Makai Bari, established in 1859, produces some of the most famous teas in the world, and OBT, founded in 1920, is one of India's well-known companies that serves global customers. I now invite Mr. Chatterjee to give his address.
Thank you, Mr. Kuljal, Your Excellencies, respected speakers, members of CII. It is my honor to speak on this very important partnership between India and Rwanda. And it is my delight to speak, because I can say without any hesitation that in all the investments that Lakshmi has made, Rwanda has been in some of the boldest investments, and that have been ably supported by the government of Rwanda and by the people of Rwanda. We have felt welcome. When I first visited Rwanda, we didn't have any investment. I didn't have any introduction. I showed up with a hotel booking and with unconfirmed meetings with RDB officials. And this was in 2016. And in 2017, we had our first greenfield investment. Lakshmi's last greenfield investment was in 1980 in India. To make a greenfield investment in a tea sector is a very complicated process. Growing tea bushes, getting water, getting forest land, making sure roads are available, getting government permits, moving expertise in terms of people, getting a factory built. All of that was ably supported by both the federal government at RDB, but also at local levels. The mayor and the governor, where we started the Rugabano tea estate. Your Excellency, Indian Ambassador Mr. Oscar Kirketak was there for the inauguration in 2019. So it was a record that a greenfield project actually started producing tea within 2 years after it was launched. I don't think it's happened anywhere in the world. And it's a testimony to our seriousness as a company and Rwanda's seriousness in attracting investors that this happened. At the same time, we acquired 2 existing tea estates, out of which the one is called Gisubu, which we believed can make the same kind of world-class tea that Makaibari makes in Darjeeling. We feel that Gisubu is the best tea estate in Africa and one of the best tea estates in the world. It can be a brand out of Rwanda. And it is with that goal that we went in. In that process, the acquisition, again, RDB worked very closely with us. There were some hiccups that we needed to establish, and I had very easy access to the CEO of RDB during those days, and I just was able to settle things very, very easily. And that was something that I was very impressed by. And the process was driven by, number one, patriotism, number 2, honesty. It was phenomenal in the way it happened. And I just want to quickly share our experience in a very short few slides. But you will also see, seeing is believing, because you will also see what a stunning country Rwanda is. For those of you who haven't been, it is one of the prettiest countries in the world. Our company, which is established in Rwanda, is called Silverback Tea, which now has 5 million kilograms of tea. But because one of that properties is greenfield, we expect it to be a 15 million kilogram tea production. And then we've already started some value addition, which I will share. So this is the beautiful country. These are the 3 properties in the Western province. High altitude volcanic soil. So if you're into agro processing and value addition of agro processing, Rwanda gives 12-month production opportunities, being on the equator. High altitude, so same weather, couple of dry months, but same temperature, and being a very well connected country, very fast transport, and you can serve the East African market and then export out of Mombasa or Dar es Salaam. It's also, as my previous speaker has ensured, fantastically connected. You can sit at that property and have, I just got off the VC with the Rwandan team an hour before, and it's never been a problem. As I said, the first signing was done in 2015. We signed an agreement with the government of Rwanda in 2017, and the tea factory was inaugurated by Honorable Minister of Agriculture in 2019. It is probably the largest greenfield project in tea anywhere in the world. And the way it has been established is quite amazing. It's also, it's a very easy to do business, low tax rates, good talent, good business schools. We are hiring Rwandan talent. We've got management in Rwanda, which is easy to find and very committed workforce. Quality products, especially in tea. I think it's one of the best countries in the world to grow tea. It's probably true for coffee. It's probably true for many other agro produce. Beautiful country to visit as a tourist. The silverback gorilla is a sight to behold. I've been fortunate to have been able to visit, and that's if when you're thinking of doing business, try to make sure you have time to see the beautiful country. The roads that were built, and you can see these worker colonies that were built by the government, and they were built on time and to very high specifications. You can see the quality of the production. That's our partner, Sir Ian Wood, Wood Foundation, who's been committed in the tea industry in Rwanda. So I'll just say that as a country, we have had an amazing experience with Rwanda. It's been essentially focused on the tea business. That's been our experience. I'm actually been in discussion with several people, including customers in US and other countries, whether there could be a design, because I think it's an amazing design, and Africa is the new, superpower of design. Whether it's South Africa or East Africa, whether we can have design schools making designs for home furnishings brands, and bring a different look and feel to the designing community. I'm fully committed to Rwanda, and any CII member who wants to reach out to me is welcome to do so. I can also say that I visited Rwanda as part of the Prime Minister's delegation, and saw for myself India's commitment to Rwanda. His Excellency Oscar Kerketa is the first ambassador from India to Rwanda, and that shows India is very keen to have both a commercial and diplomatic relationship with Rwanda. And so, as an Indian investing into Rwanda, you have special comfort, because that the country is also committed, and with His Excellency Oscar Kerketa, also you will make sure that you land on your feet. So if you haven't visited, you will be surprised how easy business is. For someone who started a new business and went with a suitcase, and basically had no prior investments or prior contacts, it is something which would be difficult to do in any country, let alone in Africa, but even in US or Europe, it will be difficult to just show up, make an investment, grow it from zero to, I think $15 million today, maybe $30 million in a few years with the greenfield coming up. It's quite a fast, it's a 2-year journey that we've just had. And I would welcome you, and would be happy to answer any questions offline, anyone having any questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chatterjee. It's very heartening to see feedback from investors of India in Rwanda. And thank you for your fantastic investment. Our third speaker this afternoon is Mr. Jonas Munyurangambo. Mr. Munyurangambo is an economist, founding board member of the Economic Policy Research Network. He is currently a cabinet-appointed Director General of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation at the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Prior to that, he served as a coordinator of the private sector development and youth employment sector. I now invite Mr. Munyurangambo, Acting Chief Technical Advisor to the Ministry of Trade and Industry, to give his comments.
Your Excellency, High Commission, Embassy of Rwanda, India, Your Excellency, High Commission, Embassy of India and Rwanda, Chief Executive Officer, Private Sector Federation of Rwanda, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of RDB, Rwanda Development Board, members of CIA. On behalf of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, I would like, first of all, to congratulate and also appreciate these initiatives that brings together this kind of dialogue between the business community in Rwanda, but also business community in India. I think my previous speakers have really done best work, and I think a number of things that I had also prepared to touch on, they have been already covered by the previous speakers. But I would like also to reiterate, but also confirm that today, Rwanda and India, we have been enjoying bilateral trade relations. with India becoming now number 3 trading partner of Rwanda, and number 2 looking at our Rwanda's trade with Asia. So this is very important, and as they have confirmed, there are a number of sectors also. We have seen increased investment by Indian investors, being real estate, manufacturing, education, agriculture, transport, health, energy, and these have seen really steady growth over the past 20 years. This is really something that we appreciate, but also looking to strengthen together business opportunities, as the presentation from RWA again touch on that. So today we have reached a number of notable agreements between the government of Rwanda and India in a number of areas, including technology transfer, and we do believe that a number of action could be undertaken to improve investment between both countries, strengthening robust backward and forward linkages as part of today's discussion. I think this is very important to really engaging in. Specifically, I would say that there is an ongoing implementation of Indian Rwanda Innovation Growth Program, which focuses on matching the technology developers from India to technology needs from Rwanda, which was actually facilitated by the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce. So there is high recognition of importance of strengthening our trade partnership by improving the productive capacities for both domestic market but also export with regard to ongoing and increasing growth of importance of South-South cooperation. We do believe that in enterprise networks that is already established, but also looking forward for further strengthening of practical solutions that could be part of the current discussion as part of also the strengthening of global value chain through promotion of technologies, being skills, but also through investment that would catalyze transformation of Rwanda, but also improvement on both sides. Again, against this backdrop, there is already significant natural resource environment, improvement in education outcome as a result of the cooperation and also investment already that is taking place. So we do believe again that collaboration between Indian and Rwandan business communities, being those ones in abroad, through diasporas, could also really play a critical role in strengthening our engagement. Therefore, a dialogue like this one we are having today, I think it's very instrumental for members of the private sector, both from Rwanda, but also from India, to ensure that investment really generate the possible outcome and resources that we want to achieve as revenues from both sides, and also some gains that have multiplier effect to the development of the country. So also looking ahead for partnership between Rwandan and business community to accelerate the process by helping African countries address supply side constraint. As you know, we are implementing, starting from the next month, the Continental Free Trade Area, which again presents a very important opportunity for business communities to really tap into the potential that it brings of 1.3 billion people as one market under the Continental Free Trade Area. We do believe through a number of value chain, this CFTA brings again an opportunity to already existing partnership that we have with India. I therefore think that this is very important engagement that we need to continue and also explore opportunities that will help forging business linkages through investment, technology transfer, supply networks, but also market linkages. that are aimed to strengthening both countries' economic ties, but also bringing the common gain that we want to see. Maybe to recall, with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, we are spearheading a number of policies and strategies, notably the Made in Rwanda policy, which has prioritized a number of priority sectors such as light manufacturing, agro-processing, but also construction materials. We do believe that services and ICT are key enablers, but also business opportunities with themselves. With the COVID pandemic, it has really been one of the critical areas to also focus on, bringing out digital solutions that would also contribute to the ongoing initiatives that helps engaging the business community in without necessarily being met, as we are currently interacting in this discussion. So e-commerce is one of the critical areas as well. Without saying much, I do believe much details will come through the presentation by RDB, which highlights potential areas for further deals and investment that we can have together between either through joint ventures or even having investors through FDI. So we are committed as a government to facilitate and also make reality the discussion we're having. I really wish you fruitful discussion and thank you once again for organizing this important discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Munindra. May I request participants to keep their microphones on mute? There seems to be a lot of disturbance in the way. As per our agenda, now we have a slot for a short film on investment and tourism opportunities in Rwanda. Raki?
Geographically located at the heart of Africa, Rwanda is a small country embracing a big vision. World Bank Business Report ranked Rwanda as the second easiest place to do business in Africa. Think of Rwanda as a partner in business. A friend who needs light. A high demand for solar energy system to enable an off-grid access to rural electrification, ensuring power supply in remote areas. A socializing friend, aspiring to become a cultural hub in tourism with more room for a world-class hospitality infrastructure. Rwanda is carving out its niche as a regional, international friends hub. A smart friend who believes in ICT service efficiency, innovation, and growth of talent. A productive friend ready to process and add value to locally produced foods, textiles, commodities, and acclaimed brands. A friend with an affordable home for the emerging middle class along with other public fittings. A friend who counts and grows. There is more room for money to flow and grow by filling the gaps in agriculture, SMEs, and real estate. A healthy friend who can qualify more practitioners from school, manufacture health products, and accommodate local patients in modern health facilities. A friend with knowledge. Rwanda needs to establish more technical and vocational education, ICT schools, and higher learning institutions. When it's time to invest, come to us. Get your business registered in 6 hours in a land that surely means business.
Wow. Is there any sector we can't invest in Rwanda? I think everything is covered. Thank you for that. Our next speaker, Mr. Zefini Niyonkuru from the Rwanda Development Board. Rwanda Development Board is a government of Rwanda entity tasked to transform Rwanda into a global hub for business and innovation by fostering an attractive investment environment for investments, enabling exports and creating jobs. Mr. Niyonkuru, before RDB, served as country representative at the USAID East Africa Trade and Investment Hub, where he oversaw the activities in Rwanda, including but not limited to supporting companies raise funds, restructure operations, strengthen distribution channels, and find buyers in the US, Costa Rica, and other regional markets. I now invite Mr. Niyonkuru, Deputy Chief Executive Officer, RDB, to give his presentation.
Thank you, moderator. The High Commissioner of Rwanda in India, Jacqueline, the High Commissioner of India to Rwanda, the CEO of the Private Sector Federation, the CTA at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, CEOs who have spoken before me. I've seen Amit from Airtel, I've seen the chairman of Luxman, I've seen several others, the members of CII and the rest of participants on this webinar. It's my great pleasure to be here and also to discuss or present about investment opportunities that are in Rwanda, be in tourism, be in agriculture, be in ICT, and other sectors. I was happy to hear great testimonies from Indian investors who invested in Rwanda. I remember around 10 years ago when Airtel was coming here, it was really a game changer in telecom industry. And of course, even recently when they consolidated the operations with Tigo, along with the competitor MTN, we've been seeing great penetration of ICT in our economy, which has been catalyzing activities from different sectors, be on communication, be on payments, and so on and forth. And these companies really played a big role, especially during the pandemic, where all of these payments had to be done electronically, and the rest of the solution that have been rolling out. So I was so happy to hear the testimonies from their side. And I'm also glad that I'm going also to talk about other investment opportunities so that we can keep having more investors from China coming to invest in Rwanda. And also those who are already in Rwanda are being able to expand on their current investments, generating positive returns, investing again, creating more jobs, and helping us to realize the objectives that Amit was alluding to, which are outlined in our national strategy for transformation. I'm going to share my screen so that I can take you through some of the investment opportunities. And some of the aspects that I'll be speaking about have been already mentioned, but of course, if I would give a quick recap with regard to the structure of our economy, It's a country of around 12.6 million people, and official languages include Kinyarwanda, which is our mother tongue. We also use English, French, and Swahili. Swahili, which is also widely used in the region. If you look into the numbers, the GDP per capita is estimated to around 800 USD. And then I think this is something that Amit talked about. If you look into how the economy has been growing over the last 10 years, you're talking about an average growth of 7.5 per year, including several years where we registered double-digit growth. If you look into the numbers from last year, prior to this pandemic, prior to COVID-19 crisis, the economy in 2019 had grown by 9.4%. And of course, same as the rest of the economies around the world were affected by the COVID-19, the pandemic also affected our economy. In the first quarter of 2020, we registered a growth rate of 3.7%. Second quarter, that's where we had the lockdown. The economy contracted heavily by 12.4%. The numbers from the third quarter showed some positive outlook. The economy now contracted by 3.6% compared to the same period last year. And if you look into the projections of the IMF, the economy is supposed to almost reach the same level of 2019 with an estimate of contraction of 0.2%. So we're really making a lot of efforts to make sure that we recover the economy. And as I speak about the opportunities and investments, I will also come back to some of the sectors that we're highly focusing on as we look into the overall recovery of the economy. Some of these things were spoken about, especially with the CEOs who spoke, who have been able to invest in Rwanda, and also Mr. Jonas from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. But the economy has really been growing very fast. If you look also into the human development indicators, I think we are the most improved nation in the world. If you look into the number of people that we are alleviated out of poverty, if you look into the kids who have been going to school, all of these human development indicators have really been improving very fast, because even if we may talk about the GDP, we may talk about exports and whatever, it comes back to the welfare of people. We can have some of these numbers which are related to GDP, but also the key thing is making sure that all of these things reflect to the welfare of the people of Rwanda. Our population is relatively young. I think Samit was saying that if you go to different places, offices, you come across young people. We also have, of course, old people. We welcome young, old, and old people to come and invest in Rwanda and also have a good life in Rwanda. The country is very safe. If you look at some of the indicators, we ranked like number 5 worldwide in terms of being able to work at night. You can wake up at 2 a.m., you go on the road, you jog, you walk. The country is really safe. And the debt to GDP ratio has also been low if you compare with the rest of the neighbors. And when it comes to doing business, I think the CEO of the chairman of Lux alluded to some of these points. It's very easy to do business in Rwanda. You can open your company quickly, 6 hours, 8 hours, you have your certificate of incorporation. We have one-stop center where we provide several services and facilitation to investors, be it on aspects like work permits, aspects like making sure that you get your tax identification number immediately. If you get your certificate of incorporation, the systems are integrated. Immediately you get your tax identification number, you get the number where you can use to do the social security contribution for employees. We really leverage on all of these investments that we've been making in IT to facilitate the ease of doing business. So I'll be coming back to some of these aspects as I quickly take you through this presentation. And of course, we've been putting in place some of the incentives geared at facilitating those who want to invest in Rwanda. We've been, if you look into our taxation system, the corporate income tax is around 30%. And if you are exporting, we also give you a reduced rate when it comes to corporate income tax. If you export more than 50%, we reduce this CIT or corporate income tax to 15%, and also provide additional advantages or benefits if you make Rwanda as your regional or headquarter for your operations. We also provide accelerated depreciation of your PPE, which I believe also help investors to keep majority of their cash or their net income to be able either to reinvest in Rwanda or to do the distribution of dividends to their shareholders. And when it comes also to aspects like the repatriation of capital, we don't have restriction. You can invest, you can repatriate your capital, whether you're giving dividends to your shareholders, whether you sending some profits to the parent company, assuming whatever that is there is a sister company. We don't have restriction. What you simply need to do is clearing your books, show your numbers, and then you can repatriate your capital. We don't have restriction. And then we also have exemption on capital gains. We don't tax this. And if you are importing, when you have your certificate of your investment certificates, you can also enjoy duty-free. You don't pay taxes or import duties on the machinery when you're bringing them. And also when you bring imports, we help you to make sure that you don't pay taxes on these inputs, which you really use to produce the final product. So 6 hours you can register your company. You don't have to pay anything. It's free. Where you're gonna be in any part of the world, you can do it online. So we really provide all of those quick facilitations to make sure that people can keep investing in Rwanda. Our economy is mainly dominated by services, be financial services, IT services, among others. All of these services contribute around 49% into our GDP. And then we have agriculture, which goes to 24%, and industry going around 18%. And then we have some tax adjustments and other aspects are contributing around 7% into the GDP. Quickly, again, we make sure that if you invest in Rwanda, you also benefit from the rest of our advantages on the region. DG or acting CTA, Jonas was alluding to free continental trade agreement that will be operationalized starting next year. So we are really part of several organizations across Africa, be it African Union. Our president was the chairperson of it, of African Union 2018. But we also we are part of the Smart Africa, which really promote ICT-related investments, which enable quick economic development. We've been hosting several international and continental events, including some key meetings of the World Economic Forum, the executives of FIFA, Africa Green Revolution Forum. And so we've been really making sure that we get connected to the rest of the world, and also making sure that investors take advantage of all of these bodies. So we are also part of East Africa community. So if you invest in Rwanda, in addition to having access to the 12.6 million people of Rwanda that are alluded to, you can also have access to 185 million population from the region. So if you import from all of these regional countries, which are part of the East Africa community, you don't have to pay import duties if it's something that is manufactured from those countries. Same as if you also produce in Rwanda and you export to, let's say, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Burundi, you don't have to pay import duties once you're exporting to those countries, because we have a common market where if you invest in Rwanda, you really enjoy those benefits from those countries. So we are part of other bodies, including COMESA, and also other intercontinental agreements, including agreements with the European Union, where if you are exporting there, you also enjoy quite other benefits, including reduced import duties. And also same with AGOA. If we are exporting to the United States of America, You don't pay import duties if you, let's assume we are exporting processed foods, if we are exporting footwear, if you are exporting handicraft, you don't have to pay import duties. And of course, we are open to the rest of the world. There are several direct flights coming from Rwanda, going to different parts of the world through our national carrier, Rwandair, and also other airlines that come to Rwanda, including the likes of KLM, Ethiopian, among others. And of course, specifically with India, we have direct flights from Kigali to Mumbai, which has really also been supporting in terms of making sure that business people can easily fly from Kigali to India. Talking about investment opportunity in ICT, I think Amity was alluding to how Airtel has been able to make several investments in ICT. The reason why companies like Airtel or CEOs like Amity have been able to, roll out several products is because the government has heavily invested in infrastructure network, which really enable all of the rest of the investments. If you look into, for example, like aspects like fiber optic, we rolled out a fiber optic of around 7,000 kilometers across the country. The size of our country is 26,000 kilometers square. So you can imagine 7,000 kilometers in terms of the fiber optic. So you're really talking about 95% of the coverage in terms of the 4G, which we believe really enable investments in aspects like telecom and aspects like fintech and also other aspects of the ICT. We've also been attracting several investors, foreign investors and local investors who have been investing in education to make sure that we have several graduates from STEM, those who would be doing science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Currently, we have a Kigali Innovation City, where we're also putting, a key infrastructure to make sure that we keep enabling investments in ICT. It's a huge investment which are going to cost more than 100 million USD. And currently, we have some key universities, including the Kennedy Mellon University from the US, which has established their campus, the African campus in Rwanda. We also have other technology companies that are coming in this particular innovation city to keep providing solutions to companies in Rwanda and also beyond. So this is really one of the areas or one of the places where investors can come and be able to start their ICT-focused projects quickly, be in agri-tech, biotech, fintech, among others. And in tandem, we are also putting in place an innovation fund, which will be providing some equity, private equity financing to the investors in ICT, who will also be rolling out solutions to support our economy. If you look into tourism, tourism is one of the sectors also that has been growing very fast. The video that we watched was highlighting some of the key destinations, some of the key opportunities. Investors, some of the opportunities that we currently have, which are open, include golf resorts. They include, in different parts of the country, especially in the east, be in Karongi, be in Rubavu. And also, investors really can now invest in some of the high-end hotels, golf resorts, and also luxury resorts, which would really attract high-end tourists who would be coming to Rwanda. If you go in agriculture, this is also a sector that has been heavily contributing into our economy, employing more than 70% of our people. We have also been investing heavily in infrastructure. Currently, we have, for example, Gawiro Agro Park, where we are putting irrigation infrastructure to make sure that those who want to come and invest in high-yield agriculture projects and livestock projects can come and start their investment quickly. We also have Dapo Beef, which is also going to bridge the gap in terms of recapturing domestic market as far as meat aspects are concerned. including also boosting in exports. We are also attracting investors into the Kigali wholesale market, which will be focusing on fruits and vegetables. If I go towards the end, manufacturing is also a sector that has been growing very fast and also contributing into our economy. Jonas alluded to some of the transactions that have been happening between India and Rwanda, but now we have also several opportunities as far as agro-processing is concerned. Staple foods, meat products, dairy, these are sectors where we're encouraging investors to come and set up their operations or manufacturing activities here. Or the same also applies to light manufacturing, soaps, bedside, garments, wood, pharmaceuticals, and also construction materials, cement, tiles, metals, plastics, among others, and then cross-cutting sectors, which include paper packaging, glass bottle, and other alternative packaging. So this is really a sector, especially if you talk about the fast-moving consumer goods. These are sectors where we encourage investors to come. As we speak this week, the cabinet approved a program which is geared at even not only supporting the overall economic activity, but also encouraging investment in the manufacturing sector. We are scrapping aspects like value-added tax if you are sourcing construction materials locally, or if you are sourcing raw materials locally. We are really giving ourselves this period of 2 years to make sure that we have heavy investment in these sectors so that we can not only capture the domestic market, but also contribute to a quick recovery of our economy in the aftermath of this COVID-19 pandemic. We may have other focus sessions to talk about specific opportunities under this program, but I just wanted to mention that it's also a program that over the next couple of months will be heavily marketing to the investors so that they can again come and start greenfield investments or expand on the investments. That's what I had to share, and I thank you for your kind attention, and we look forward to questions through Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kuru, for your detailed presentation on the investment into Rwanda. It's very impressive, the precise and efficient services that RDB provides. It's very evident from the testimonials that were given by Mr. Chatterjee, Mr. Chawla, and many other examples that we've heard. Mr. Stephen Ruzibiza, our next speaker, is the CEO of the Private Sector Federation, and he will give us our next presentation. Mr. Ruzibiza, would you like to give us your PPT? We can organize that.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Would you like us to show your presentation?
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm just standing in on behalf of Mr. Stephen Ruzibiza with his deputy as Fosim Karasira in charge of operations. He's just on, but he's stuck in another assignment. Once he's done, he will be joining as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellency Ambassador of Rwanda to New Delhi, Excellency Ambassador of India to Kigali, dear Deputy CEO of RDB, Acting Chief Technical Advisor, Managing Directors, Mr. Abdilash, Trade Policy Advisor and Private Sector Development Experts, Mr. Rajiv, Member of CII National Committee on Africa and CEO of International Business Escorts, all protocol observed. Good afternoon and good evening to those who are already in India. We are, as said, we are really very glad again by the previous speakers and presentations that were talking more of doing business in Rwanda and how they shared their own experience in terms of how doing business in Rwanda has been very easy to them. So my role is going to be very easy because it is just, to share more light or to complement on what has been said by those predecessors. I hope you can follow the presentation. Good. So the Private Sector Federation is more kind of unique in terms of other structures of private sector worldwide, whereby you find, you have different chambers and confederations, as per the regions and cities. But in Rwanda, we have one federation that, brings together all the private sector, both the businesses and also the employers. It was incorporated in 1999 as BMO and also employers organizations. We have 5 clusters, which brings together 75 associations. And part of what has been registered as achievement, there is the establishment of collective investment as purpose vehicle in different sectors. There is the launch of Kigali Investors Forum, which is existing now and brings different players together. The removal of withholding tax on transport, the international trade fairs, which is ongoing even currently for the 23rd times, and so forth. There is also 146,000 businesses which are established in Rwanda and registered as member of the Private Sector Federation, being 95.7 sole proprietorship and 3.2 being limited by shares. PSF is a member-based organization, as said earlier. Those 5 clusters that we talked about are the agriculture, the services, industry, trade, as well as what we call specialized, which is more of unique to the case of Rwanda. This is more of, the cluster that brings together youth and women entrepreneurs together to ensure that they are also part of the development of the economy, and also, they really play a very significant role. And then under those clusters, that is where now we have more of sectorial-based associations, which brings now together, it is more kind of, narrowing down specific members within the same sector coming together just to form an association which plays more of advocacy role in terms of their businesses. For the priorities, we are really in line with the government's priorities in terms of the vision, and also in terms of achieving the overall targets, which is the GDP per capita expected to reach 12,476. A lot has been said by my colleague, previous speaker, Mr. Zephany, so I'll not just highlight more on that. In terms of expectation of the Private Sector Federation, these slides indicate the area of concentration, the area of focus for the Private Sector Federation within the 7 years, which is more of being an economic engine of the country, targeting more investment in different sectors, delivering on the exports, building the capacity of our members, especially those who are still very young, establish a business institute for the capacity development of the members of the private sector, ensure that there is enough infrastructure development countrywide, be supporting the production at large, contribute to job creation, being the backbone of the Made in Rwanda, which is a policy that indicates or promotes more of the production in terms of boosting the local production, but also being able to export to those different regional blocks that Rwanda is part of, as explained by the previous presentation. We are moving to technology, not only the ICT being enabler, but also covering different sectors. As we speak, I can just give simple example. We are hosting already an exhibition, and part of what is being done with the support of Airtel and MTN, it is being more of paperless, cashless, through the systems where you come and through Airtel you can buy the ticket, you can make the payment, you can have the access to the exhibition and so forth. So the technology is really being more of the backbone of different sectors, different businesses countrywide. We are also aiming to be part of the creation of the wealth for Rwandans and also for businesses, people that are operating in Rwanda. We have been promoting the collective investment as previously said. The main purpose of this, again, has been more of covering the gaps that are in different sectors. A simple example is in the garment manufacturing, whereby we brought together more than around 40 small companies to form the apparel manufacturing group with the aim to supply or to produce for the wider market, not only the local but also the regional market. The same applies for the seed. Being, one of the pillar being the agriculture, the seeds has been an issue, throughout, the country. And what, we did was, why should we keep, importing? The main purpose here was, again, to bring together, different players to form a tree seeds company, which is currently now producing. Though there is still a gap, but there is really no that significant contribution, which is being done through this collective investment. The same applies for the processing investment company, which aimed at supporting the small manufacturers in terms of accessing the packages and also the packaging materials. The same has applied for the transports, whereby we brought together some private operators, and they formed what they called 9 United Traders, which is a company holding already 100 trucks, doing the more of facilitating more of the regional and cross-regional businesses. The same applies to the joint exporters company, which again is feeding more on that pillar, which is export oriented. And this is really expelling in terms of what is being locally produced to be more easily exported to different markets. So initiative of collective investment has been really yielding more of result. But again, all these kind of investment opportunities, they are more open in terms of partnership with their counterparts, which may be from CII India or anywhere else all over the world. We have been forging relationships between PSF and Indian institutions, where we have different MOUs that were signed. And as you can see, during the visit of Right Honorable Prime Minister of India, there also are some MOUs that were signed between Indian operators and Rwandan operators. To name those, there is already an MOU with PSD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have already an MOU with Indian Merchants Chamber. We have an MOU already with All India Granites and Stones Association. We have an MOU with the Federation of Karnataka Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have an MOU with Karnataka Small Scale Industries Association. We have an MOU with the Federation of India Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We also have an MOU with the Confederation of Indian Industry. And currently, as we are hosting this 23rd exhibition, We have already some companies from India, those who came from India just to participate to this exhibition. In addition to Airtel that I talked about, which is one of the key partner helping in terms of accessing the exhibition as well. We have more than 130 plus Indian investors who are in Rwanda, and most of them being also member of the Private Sector Federation. To name those, there is Silfo, there is Airtel, who are not only member of the federation, but they are also member of the top players of the economy, which are grouped under the Golden Circle members. So they are really, among the key few that contribute significantly to the economic development of the country. There is more availability in terms of opportunities in addition to what my colleague from RDB talked about, which again indicates how Rwanda is very open in terms of partnership with CCIA members. Be in terms of the food, beverage, and beef processing, there is really a lot in terms of opportunities there. There is a lot in terms of chemical and pharmaceutical sector. There is a lot, that we can do together in terms of plastic, rubber, foam sector. There is a lot, that we can still do together in terms of textile, leather, and apparel sector. There is already, some kind of businesses being done in terms of imports of textile from India. So there is really a lot, just to name those few sectors. But when you look at even others, be the ICT, be financial services, be health, and so forth, there is really a lot that we can all do together in terms of further partnership. The agriculture, again, this is part of the backbone when you look at its contribution in terms of GDP. And we know that, there is a significant performance that India has achieved, be in terms of irrigation, ICT, agriculture, post-harvest, and milk processing. So we can consider those being part of opportunities as well in the sector of agriculture, open for Indian investors. The same applies for the seed, as we talked about again earlier. When you look at there is a gap more than 50%, which requires again seed production. So that is another kind of area that members of CIA can consider in terms of eyeing Rwanda. Without taking long of your time, I really appreciate the opportunity that was given to us. We also appreciate what Airtel and Luxmai did in terms of facilitating this participation of Rwanda being part of this conversation. We look forward to the conversation as it continues in terms of Q&A. But most importantly, the airport is working 24 hours, so we'll be happy to welcome potential business people from India coming from tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Faustin, for presenting on behalf of the CEO of PSF and for giving us the detailed background of PSF and welcoming us to Rwanda. Before we have very important speakers address us, the High Commissioners of India to Rwanda and Rwanda to India, allow me to take questions from the audience, which they are via various media. I think the first question that has been posed to us from Delhi is, what is the vision and roadmap for developing Rwanda as the Singapore of Africa? Maybe I can the CEO of RDB to address that question for us, please.
Thank you. I think the key thing is that, some countries can, of course, learn from others. in terms of what those countries did, or in terms of some of the key interventions that were rolled out for a country to move from one point to the other. But of course, definitely Rwanda remain Rwanda, and Singapore remain Singapore. But in terms of the development roadmap, our focus has really been in making sure that, first of all, we help our people to live better lives. That's number one. With everything that we've been talking about, if you realize how the economy has been moving ahead, you're talking about our GDP growing by a factor of 5 over the last 7 years, which also reflects to the well-being of our people. That's why I alluded to the development, to the Human Development Index, where at least our people have been seeing improvement in terms of their livelihood. So we are now really putting emphasis on making sure that the private sector increases their overall contribution into the GDP development of Rwanda, into the GDP. And we make all of these efforts by making sure that the government becomes a enabler. The government makes significant investments in terms of making sure that we have infrastructure that are needed for members of the private sector to come and start their businesses. So as we do that, I think Faustin alluded to that, our target is at least by 2050 to be a higher middle income status, but the higher band. 2035 middle, where the GDP per capita would be around 4,000 USD. Again, we're putting a lot of emphasis in making sure that we grow the share of manufacturing activities. We increase services, be the IT, be financial services, to enable the rest of manufacturing and agriculture activities. And with this, and in addition to attracting FDIs, fostering partnership with the key countries like India, attracting foreign investors, we believe that we'll be able to realize this long-term vision that we've been envisioning as a country.
Thank you, sir. That was very concise. Anyone else would like to take a shot at that question, or I can move on to the next question? Okay, so the next question is on which are the sectors that Indian industry has the most potential to invest in Rwanda. This is from Bhilwara in Rajasthan and India. Can I ask PSF or RDB? I leave it to you, or if there's anyone else who would like to take a pot at that.
Could you repeat the question? You're asking about the sectors.
Yeah, so the sectors that the Indian industry has most potential to invest in Rwanda. So basically, what we've seen in the video, we've seen a lot of sectors that have been portrayed. According to RDB and PSF and our friends who have been in the industry, if you can throw some light on which sectors should Indian industry should be looking specifically for Rwanda.
So we can talk about agriculture. We talked about aspects like livestock. We talked about agro-processed products. We definitely have some Indian companies that have invested in sectors including tea. If you look into where we sell our coffee, we have a big chunk that has been going to India. So sectors that investors from India can invest in include agriculture, agro-processing, and we also have light manufacturing. We're talking about all of these fast-moving consumer goods. So the market is not only Rwanda, but also the region, be the Eastern DRC, be the countries of the East Africa community that I mentioned. And then we also have mining as well. Mining is one of the sectors that has been driving our exports. But what we are really putting also more emphasis on is on the value addition and also processing. So we're really talking about aspects like gemstone cutting, we're talking about processing of tantalum, we're talking about quite a number of other sectors which we believe can members of the private sector from India can invest into. And then we have also ICT, as I mentioned. We have made significant investments in terms of having the fiber optic, in terms of making sure that all of these enablers, all of these key things that members of the private sector would need are in place, which I believe now can enable investments, be on aspects like big data, aspects like financial technologies, aspects like even machine learning, all of these alternative solutions that can foster or enable or help the rest of the sectors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We do have a few more questions, but keeping in mind the time, may I actually take one question, which as a trade policy expert, I wanted to understand the linkages that are being strengthened between the two countries in terms of the banking linkages as well as trade policy linkages such as DTAAs, BIPA, or the business investment promotion agreements. Maybe I will let the High Commissioners address that if they have a chance when they have their address. Keeping time in our mind, I think I will move on to the next part of our session. Our next speaker is His Excellency Mr. Oscar Carretta, the High Commissioner of India to Rwanda. High Commissioner Carretta has joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1987 and has worked in various capacities in missions in Hong Kong, Beijing, Warsaw, Berlin, Lusaka, Stockholm. He served as Consul General in Edinburgh. In the headquarters here in Delhi, he has been among other responsibilities, he's been in the SARC division and additional secretary in the Foreign Services Institute. He's well versed in Chinese. I now invite His Excellency Oscar Carretta, the High Commissioner of India to Rwanda, to address us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this video conference on business opportunities in Rwanda and Rwanda-India economic relations. I'm not very old here. I came here and opened up the mission on 15th August 2018. In fact, Rwanda was the first country in which the Indian mission was opened as part of Government of India's plan to expand our presence in Africa, wherein 20 countries in Africa were selected to have the resident Indian missions, and Rwanda was the first country in which the Indian mission was opened. Hence so far in the past, where there was no Indian missions presence. So I am fortunate to be the first High Commissioner of India to Rwanda. A number of speakers before me have emphasized on the central location of Rwanda, and that's very true. Rwanda is the heart of Africa. And it's also true that Rwanda is a small country. If it is comparable, then probably it's comparable to one of our northeastern states of Meghalaya in size. Our population is also small, roughly around 11 million. But despite this, Rwanda offers tremendous business opportunities. Coming back to the central location of Rwanda, given its size and population, the Indian businesses have to be mindful of the prospect that the central location of Rwanda offers in terms of businesses. So if the Indian businesses are planning to do business with Rwanda, then they have to be mindful of the regional market as well. And one of the previous speakers has already emphasized on Rwanda being part of other regional trading arrangement, SADC and COMESA. And the thing is, one aspect is that Rwanda being landlocked, it's primarily dependent on the ports of Mombasa and Dar es Salaam for its exports and imports. While it poses challenges, it also offers opportunities, because in case if your exports and imports are dependent on the ports of Mombasa and Dar es Salaam, then there is also opportunities for the logistical sector, road transport. I would say that road transport, in fact, offers a good investment environment in the logistical sector. That's no surprise that DP World recently started its operations in Kigali, and they are very new. I attended their inauguration event, I think in the month of October last year, their dry port in Kigali. So to say that Rwanda is landlocked and it's dependent on the ports in Mombasa and Dar es Salaam is only the half truth. While the challenge is there, it also offers you the business opportunities. That's right. And in the same connection, we have to be also looking towards the future. We all know that Qatar is investing in the new Bugesera airport. This is in addition to the existing airport in Kigali. Kigali. So the new airport coming up, I'm told that the process is on. They are already undertaking the process to select the contractors for implementing the project, and it's a massive project. But the things are going ahead, as I understand, in full swing. They are still they're still working on it, or rather they're implementing it. So with a new airport coming up, it offers new opportunities, not only in terms of the aviation sector, but the business spin-off that it will provide to other businesses. Because what I understand, the Qatar wants to use this new Bugesera airport as a hub to connect the flights from Asia to South America. So in case if you are aware of this transportation link, then you could very well visualize the business spin-offs this airport will provide. And that's why I repeat, the opportunities are not only there in the aviation sector, but also the spin-offs. A lot of export spin-off opportunities this airport will provide. And while the construction of the airport is going on, there remains opportunities to the Indian companies to become part of the project exports. Of course, the Qatar is implementing this project, so I mean, there is a possibility in which the Indian project exporters can also join in the construction of the project, whether it's in terms of some services or some engineering facility or something, or supply of material. It's all left to work out. Right now, the things are not clear because the contractors themselves are still in the process of identification. So, but as the picture becomes clear, the opportunities, areas of opportunities will also become clear. So this is, I would rate this Bugesera airport as one of the major opportunities in terms of business and trade and logistical facilities that Rwanda is going to offer very soon. I'm right now not very clear what's the plan for making the airport functional, but if someone is aware, then he can correct me. I think the timeline to operationalize the airport is around 2025 or something. But right now I'm not very sure on it. So this is one big opportunity which I feel Rwanda is going to open up very soon in the field of aviation services and also the spin-off business services through the Bugesera airport. And in the government of India, we have already been very active in providing support to Rwanda, and we have in the past, so far, we have extended a number of lines of credit. The purpose of lines of credit is not only to provide economic platform to the partner countries like Rwanda to develop economically and commercially, but also to strengthen our political links. So the purpose is dual. And in the last, so far, India has extended the lines of credit worth 547 million to Rwanda, ranging the areas of hydropower, agriculture, irrigation, energy, vocational training centers, and special economic zone. And apart from the Nyabarongo hydropower project, the other lines of credit funded projects are in different stages of implementation. And apart from lines of credit, we have also been extending Rwanda assistance in terms of our grant programs. Like we established the telemedicine and teleeducation center in Rwanda in 2009, solar electrification of 35 schools in rural Rwanda. Then one vocational training center was established and inaugurated in 2015. Then last year we donated medicines worth $2 million to fight HIV/AIDS and hepatitis. And very recently, when Mr. Modi came, our Honorable Prime Minister in 2018, in July 2018, we gifted, in connection with his visit and as announced during his visit, we gifted 100,000 books of National Council of Educational Research and Training. And we are currently working on the setting up of an entrepreneurship development center in Kigali. And we have also gifted 200 cows worth $200,000 to Rwanda. And this gifting of cows was particularly very well appreciated in Rwanda because of the position of cow in the Rwandan society and Rwandan rural economy. So these are the things we have been doing. And if I come back to the project like Bugesera project, and there are also a number of project exporters in India which are already active in Rwanda. There are companies like Wapos. They are active here as a project management consultant in line of credit funded irrigation projects. There is Sapurji Pallonji, another EPC contractor building up the peat-based power plant in Rwanda. There is also Kalpataru, which was earlier active in the transmission line, electricity transmission line. There is also Wiser International. It has been doing some small hydro projects. And there are also companies like Hallmark and Aoki, which are also associated in the construction of a cement plant in Rwanda. So project exports are also an important area of interest for Indian companies in Rwanda. And I may add that Indian government has already set the path and extended Rwanda a number of lines of credit. That's the official lines of credit, which is initiated by the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. And we have also given Rwanda a number of grants. And this basically reinforces our political and economic commitment to Rwanda. Government of India's political and economic commitment to Rwanda. And this really, gives the signal and clears the way for the private sector in India to come forward in Rwanda. And I must also tell you that the lines of credit through which the Indian credit funded projects are funded. Apart from that, there is also the possibility of this buyer's credit, which could also be made available to Rwanda through Exim Bank of India. In fact, both our lines of credit and also buyer's credit to any receiving country are, implemented by Exim Bank of India. But while the lines of credit is initiated by the Ministry of External Affairs, the buyer's credit is initiated by the Ministry of Commerce. And of course, these are all, both of these are implemented by the Exim Bank. The thing is that the common thing is that in both the line of credit and the buyer's credit, the receiving country has to be the receiving institution has to be the government or government authorized body or the government body as such. And particularly in the case of a buyer's credit, in case the agreement signing authority is not the Ministry of Finance, then the government of Rwanda will have to give the sovereign guarantee. So there are more opportunities for the business in Rwanda, while we have already opened up the possibilities through line of credit. The possibilities also exist through the buyer's credit, and finance being one of the major bottleneck in creating any bottleneck in the trade and other economic relations that we are trying to address. So this is what I would like to say. And if I may add about the promising areas for business, then I would like to say that, of course, a number of speakers have already emphasized about the agro-processing industries. I would also reiterate that agro-processing industry has a good potential here because of its good weather, easy availability of access to water through lakes and fertile land. And I know a number of companies, they are already engaged in the export and fruit and vegetables and also from Rwanda. Similarly, to be specific in the area of food processing, there is a clear, prospect for industry like biscuits and confectioneries, not only for Rwanda, but also for the regional market, and processing of cereals like corn and rice into packaged food items. And as I said before, when you are coming to do business in Rwanda, you don't have to look only at Rwanda. You have to exploit the central position of Rwanda and to at least be regional in your approach to business to cater to the neighboring countries. There is one more very interesting area, and which could be lucrative, is that of the potential is that of the production of infant milk formula. Rwanda produces surplus milk, and milk is one of the cow's milk is one of the major ingredients of infant milk formula. Of course, there are also other ingredients, particularly through soya. Also, you obliterate the need of use of cow milk for making infant milk. But since Rwanda, like other African countries, also offers good abundant supply of milk, this could be a promising area. And as I know, at least in the African region, if you leave out South Africa, then no company is making infant milk formula here in Africa. I think South Africa is the exception. Nestle is producing infant milk formula from South Africa, but this is not being manufactured in other countries. Of course, infant milk formula is much more complicated. It's much more complicated than dairy processing. But I clearly see that the rewards of venturing into infant milk formula is also very high when there are not too many players around. There, and as my colleague who is already made his presentation, Rwandan tea and coffee, they are also rated very high, and there is still room for more investment in it. Mr. Rudra Chatterjee will surely agree with me. Leather processing is also another lucrative area. There is a sizable number of cattle in Rwanda, and in fact, we have supported Rwanda in terms of one study for the leather processing plant. It has just been completed. Healthcare services, this is another good area for cooperation between India and Rwanda. There is a lot of business opportunity here. A lot of Rwandans go to India for medical treatment. In fact, even now we are giving roughly 3 medical visas every day to Rwandans to go for medical treatment. And this, the figure only for Rwanda. But in case if you plan to set up a hospital in Rwanda, good quality hospital, then it should cater to not only the Rwandan population, but also to the medical tourism from the region. So you have to think of a hospital which is better than the rest in the regional Africa hospital. Then because Rwanda being small, you have to cater to for the medical tourism from the neighboring countries. IT, again, the previous speakers have already emphasized there is a scope in it, and I would emphasize on the scope for IT education. IT education is something which would be very complementary to Rwandan government's vision for a digital Rwanda. So these are the areas I think there is clear and advantageous opportunity which exists for the Indian businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your comprehensive long address. In fact, you have etched your name in the India-Rwanda history for being the first head of mission in Rwanda. Absolute pleasure hearing from you. The last but not least, I have the pleasure of inviting our last speaker of the evening, Her Excellency Mrs. Jacqueline Mukingira, the High Commissioner of Rwanda to India. Excellency Mukingira has extensive experience in both executive and legislative branches of the Republic of Rwanda. Prior to her current position, she served in Sweden as the ambassador of Rwanda to the Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark, and Iceland, with the residence in Stockholm. And prior to that, she has served as the Director General in charge of Parliamentary Affairs, Fundamental Principles and Research in the Rwandese Senate. And before, she also served as Director General of Planning and Research in the same institution. I now invite Her Excellency, the High Commissioner of Rwanda to India, to give her address. Ma'am.
Thank you very much, dear Bilash, for the floor. Dear CII leaders and members, Excellency, the High Commissioner of India to Rwanda, dear speakers, distinguished participants, all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, namaskar, muraho neza. I would like to thank the Confederation of Indian Industry for organizing this virtual meeting and giving Rwanda the opportunity to showcase trade, investment, and tourism opportunities available in my country. May I also express my gratitude to all speakers and moderator for their insightful presentations and warm remarks. Thank you all for being here today, and indeed, your presence means a lot to us. Ladies and gentlemen, despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, CII has demonstrated a profound commitment to making this event a huge success. An initiative like this virtual meeting is an indication that we are going through a tunnel, but soon we shall be able to see light. It is unquestionable that the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdowns significantly disrupted businesses, financial markets, and service industries across the globe. Economies have been struggling since the pandemic began. Fortunately, present efforts in developing and availing vaccines give optimism that the world will soon emerge victorious in the war against coronavirus and turn life back to normal. The theme treated exploring opportunities and forging business linkages is indeed most important to regain the momentum for economic recovery and to create a resilient and sustainable post-pandemic world. Identification and exploration of opportunities will remain vital in sectors which are the most pertinent to the post-pandemic rebuilding. The establishment of sound initiatives and strategic investments will also be a requirement to support tourism, construction, digital infrastructure, manufacturing, and other sectors. Furthermore, companies will have to reassess their business models and ways of working with an aim to become more resilient and sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, bilateral relations between Rwanda and India are at their highest levels in the overall context of strategic partnership. Currently, the cooperation in trade and investment remains one of the priority sectors. Other sectors of cooperation include defense and security, health, education, and ICT. We are glad that some Indian investors and businesses are already established in Rwanda. We want more to invest in our country because there is a conducive investment climate. To name but a few, those include Airtel Rwanda, Sahasra Electronics, Virunga Biotech Limited, Marasa Holding, Acacia Property Development, Kabuye Sugar Works SAR, Imana Steel Rwanda Limited, Rugabano Tea Company Limited, Gisovu Tea Company Limited, and Pfunda Tea Company Limited. Rwanda treasures the cooperation with India and commits to support all the efforts for India-Africa relations. Ladies and gentlemen, today, Rwanda is a fast developing, transformed, stable, and stronger nation with a zero tolerance to corruption. Over the past decade, Rwanda has implemented an effective doing business reform agenda to create a favorable and competitive business environment. As a result, Rwanda jumped over 100 places in the World Bank Doing Business Index, today ranking 38th globally and second in Africa, with an outstanding performance on standing a business and construction permit indicators. The value of investments registered more than tripled from 2010 to 2018. Ranked among Africa's fastest growing economies with the lowest debt ratio in the region, one of the least corrupt countries in Africa, and a stable B+ economy, Rwanda remains one of the easiest countries for one to do business in safety and security. Over the last 2 decades, Rwanda has positioned itself as one of the best tourist and conference destinations. Thanks to the iconic Visit Rwanda brand and the vibrant meetings, incentives, conferences, and events, my sector, Rwanda's tourism sector has totalized 1.5 billion USD investments since the year 2000. Rwanda's achievements relating to ease of doing business have been driven by the focus on creating an enabling investment and business environment that offers outstanding business-friendly regulatory systems, an efficient supported process, commitment to foreign ownership, and multiple incentives to exporters and priority sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, Rwanda is open. We invite you to visit for investment, tourism, business, or other activities. Today, administrative requirements for investors are less than 50% compared to neighboring countries. Rwanda is ready to welcome investors in sectors with potential opportunities, including infrastructure, agriculture, energy, tourism, health, education, manufacturing, ICT, real estate and construction, financial services, and mining. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I wish to commend the importance of this virtual meeting in nourishing Rwanda with a great deal of ideas related to trade, investment, and tourism. Great opportunities are in place, and let us explore them to build a better future. I would like to sensitize Indians to continue with the good collaboration with Rwandans for the prosperity of the two nations, and I invite you all to visit Rwanda soon, a country of 1,000 hills and home of mountain gorillas. I am here with my entire team from the High Commission of Rwanda in New Delhi and our colleagues from Kigali to assure you that your red carpets await to be rolled once you decide to bring your investment to Rwanda, because in my country, an investor is a king. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Dani Avad, murakoze cyane.
Thank you, Excellency, for the crisp and succinct address. Murakoze Chana for all the speakers this afternoon. May I now hand back the microphone to Mr. Wahi to give the closing remarks.
I would like to first of all take the opportunity to thank all the panelists today who have very eloquently spoken about their experience with Rwanda, and all the delegates as well who have connected us on this platform today. My colleagues from the industry, Lakshmi T and Airtel, have, I think, shared the experience of ease of doing business with Rwanda and also the honesty while dealing with the people. I would like to myself also share my experience traveling to Rwanda perfectly. I second their experience. And one thing which probably not many have touched, I was really impressed traveling to Kigali was with the cleanliness of the city. No plastic. I think that's very, very impressive. The moment you land at the airport, they ask you to, no plastics are allowed. So the cleanliness, the greenery around, very impressive, and everyone follows that. Mr. Jonas from trade industry very well illustrated the Made in Rwanda policy. Thank you for your inputs. Mr. Nyankuru from the Rwanda Development Board, I think Our DW is playing a very pivotal role as a one-point stop and major facilitator for investments into Rwanda. Appreciate your thoughts, and you also talked about the well-being of the people, which is also a very valid point. Is the GDP really helping the people at large, which is a very valid point. Mr. Fonstick from the Private Sector Federation touched again is a major facilitating private sector engagement into Rwanda. Also glad to know more than 130 Indian companies have already invested, and some of them present today. He also touched about the sectors in manufacturing and agriculture, which have a lot of potential. I myself come from an agricultural background company, so I see a huge potential in this sector. Honorable Indian High Commissioner again spoke very well about the positive opportunities, the new airport, and also the spin-off sectors that can come with that, logistics and aviation. Also very important is the Indian government's commitment to long-term to build relations with Rwanda, particularly, and LOCs, buyer's credit, grants is just one of the ways for facilitating such relationship. Again, at the end, thank you very much, Her Excellency, the High Commissioner from Rwanda. You give us hope about the future. The future is bright, as you said, and encouraging investments into Rwanda. And your line, very impressive. Rwanda is open, which is encourages and give motivation to all the Indians who are there on this panel to come there for investment, for tourism. Beautiful country. Thank you, everyone, for your participation and being on this platform today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wahi. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you. Dhanyawad.
This important session.
Thank you so much. Dhanyawad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.